Okay, I'm in the process of preparing all the media that I need to be able to make the paper clay. In the little containers in front of the silver bowl, I have my flour, Elmer's glue, and joint compound. I also have the toilet paper that I'm going to need. Right here I'm demonstrating and showing you how I had made some before. Some of it was really squishy, some of it was a little bit harder, so I layered up the squishy stuff with the hard stuff and started kneading it and mushing it together to get it so I could work with it. It seemed to work pretty good. I roll it around in my hands and I keep moving it back and forth and getting it all mushy up there. And then once I'm done mushing that all up, I wrapped it up in a plastic wrap and I set it off to the side. What I'm doing right there is kneading it. Kind of push it down, you push the sides into the inside, keep pushing it, rolling it, pushing, rolling, pushing, rolling. And each time you do that, it makes the dough a little bit more pliable, a little bit more usable for creating sculptures. This particular point had gotten very sticky and I needed to wash them off. So I stopped what I was doing, went over to the sink in my utility room. Don't use your regular sink. You don't want that to wash down that sink. So I went over to the utility room, washed off my hands. Now here you can see me adding a layer of Elmer's glue, a layer of toilet paper, a layer of Elmer's glue, and then I'm squishing it all up with my little fingers to kind of get it into a nice mushy state. Then I'm going to come back and continue to do that process. Lay down, pour glue, lay down, pour glue, lay down, pour glue. Did it in 2 batches because I didn't want to have too big of a lump, but I wanted to make sure I was able to mix those together. But I mixed it all in there. When I was all done doing that, mushing it up with my fingers, then I was able to move on to the next stage, which was getting the joint compound. After I smushed all of the little lumps out of that glue and toilet paper mixture, took the joint compound and I mixed that in there. And when I was mixing in the joint compound, what I was finding was that it again was making a very sticky, wet mess that was all stuck to my hands. That was then remedied when I took the flour and started putting the flour on top of where I was working. I poured it in slowly, adding little bits at a time so that I didn't end up with some big lumpy dry areas. And I continued to mix, continued to scrape it off the sides and mix it with my fingers, adding more as I went. And it actually is working out fairly well, doing it all by hand. Finished pouring it all in there, continued to mix it up. At some point I had to take a spoon and scrape it all off my hands so that I could then continue to do the kneading and the mixing of it. If you get too much stuck to your hands, it makes it almost impossible to try to work with it and knead it. So I was able to continue to go around the edge of the bowl, picking up all the dry stuff and mixing it, and then kind of rubbing it off all my fingers, just so I could get in there and get in with all the stuff. I don't want to waste anything. If you waste it, it just means you have to make more. I attempted to try to make it so it would be less sticky on my hands by putting some cooking oil onto my hands. And that seemed to help a little bit. Didn't hurt. I was able to go ahead and start to mix it in a little bit more and used my spoon to scrape off the extra off the sides and kind of got a really nice lump going there, which was pretty awesome. And continued to work with it until I got to the point where I added some cornstarch. Okay, so here's where I'm adding cornstarch. It's just a slightly different than flour. I feel like it's drier, so it seems to do a better job of drying out your clay, making it less squishy. And I roll it around in there and I pick it up, and then eventually I'm going to pull it out of the bowl and just dump that extra cornstarch onto the counter and just roll that clay into it and continue to roll it, squishing the dry stuff into the center, rolling it around, and patting it in there, rolling it some more to be able to get all of the cornstarch in there and to make the clay less sticky and yet still pliable. I will continue to knead and work with the clay to get it to the consistency that I want it to be able to use it on my alien sculptures.